Hello and welcome to a short crash course on averages. Now, there are different averages that we are able to use. They're all deemed to be averages, okay, but they all sort of work in different ways, which we're going to explore today. So here are the ages of a group of people on a school trip. We have 11-year-old, another 11-year-old, a 54-year-old, a 12-year-old, an 11-year-old, a 12-year-old, 11-year-old, a 13-year-old, and a 12-year-old. Okay, so you can imagine, you can probably guess who the teacher is there. Okay, and basically, we might be asked to find the average age. Now, when it comes to averages, there are three options, and they all begin with M. Okay, first of all, we have the mean. The mean is the meanest. We'll explain why in a second. We have the median, and we have the mode. Okay. Now there's a little rhyme that I quite like, which is the mean is the meanest. Do you want to know why? First you add up, then you share by. Okay, so we are going to first of all add up all of those numbers there. So 11 plus 11 plus 54 plus 12 plus 11 plus 12 plus 11 plus 13 plus 12. Okay, and then we're going to share by how many there are. So how many people have we got? We've got 3, 6, we've got 9 of them. Okay, so let's get the calculators out. Make sure we don't miss anybody out. So we've got in the calculator 11 plus 11 plus 54 plus 12 plus 11 plus 12 plus 11 plus 13 plus 12. Okay, and I get a total there of 147. Let's go into a different colour. So I've got 147 divided by the 9 people. So their total age, if we add up all the years that these people have been alive between them, is 147. And then we share by the number of people. Okay, so on average, how many years has each person been alive? Well, we do 147 divided by 9, which is 16.3 recurring. Okay, 16 and a third years. Or we could say, that would be 16 years and a third of a year is 4 months. Yeah, it's funny because actually none of those students or teacher are 16 years old, and most of them are around 11 or 12, even 13 at the most. So you can see how this teacher's age is dragging up the average. Okay, sometimes that can be useful. It depends what your aims are. Okay, but in that case, it's 16.3. Let's look at the next one. So the mean is the meanest. The median, okay, now the median sounds a bit like the word medium, okay, and I quite like to think of it that way because what we're looking for is a sort of medium result, okay. So what first thing we're going to have to do is to put these values in order, in numerical order. So the lowest value we've got is 11, the next one 11, and how many 11s have we got? Actually, we've got 4 of those. So 4 students of 11 years old. The next age along is 12, and we've got 3 12-year-olds. Then we've got one 13-year-old. And then after that, we've got the 54-year-old teacher. Okay. Now, what's actually quite a nice way to do this is to go and find the middle value. What I like to do is to cross off the extremities. So the lowest and the highest value, then the next lowest and the next highest. And eventually we get to the middle person that way, which is the 12-year-old. So actually that average is sort of closer to the majority, isn't it? 12 years. I should put years over here as well. So the average ages. I've got the mean age, I've got the median age now. Now the mode. Now mode sounds a bit like the word most to me. Okay, so I sort of remember here it was medium value. I put them in order and find the middle. This is the most, mode most, same sort of sound. And it's the most common value. Now, actually, I can see from above which is the most common value. I've got 4 people who are 11 years old, only 3 people who are 12, and then 1 of each for 13 and 54. So the mode is very easy to spot. It's the most common age in this case, so it's 11 years. Okay. All right, so we've got 3 very different averages there. Okay. The other thing that we might be asked is to find the range. That's one more statistic. It's not an average, but it is another statistic that is usually taught alongside these averages. Okay, and the range is basically to find the range of values So you take the largest value and you subtract the smallest value. And what you get there, in this case, you'd get 54 minus 11, which is equal to 43. So the range of values, the difference between the highest and the lowest age is 43 years. Okay. Now, there's one more thing that I'd like to mention before we move on, is that the median there was really easy to find, okay, because it was an odd number of values. It was 9 values to start with, okay. But I'd like you to just last thing, just to consider what would happen if we actually had 10 values, if we had an even number of values. I'm going to go on to the next page, and I don't want that. No, that's another lesson. I'll go to the next page and just have a look at what would happen if I added on another value. So let's add another 13-year-old on. Okay, so somebody else joined the trip and they were 13 years old. Okay, and we might be asked to find the mean. Okay, so in this case, same thing, we'd add them up, but in that case, we'd divide by 10 instead. Okay, so we could do that. We could go practice that again, the mean. Okay, so we'd add up all those values. Now, actually, we could do this a quicker way, because I knew that all those values up to there add up to 147, don't they? So actually, what I could do is take all of these, knowing that they already add up to 147, and I like a shortcut, and add on a 13. That would give me that total a lot quicker, wouldn't it? Divided by 10 values now, which is equal to, what would that be? That would be 160 divided by 10, which is 16 years. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, so, and you can see how the average has come down slightly, hasn't it? Because we've got more younger students who are sort of outweighing this teacher. You can see that? Okay, median. Now, this is what I was really interested in showing you now. Same idea, so we're going to put them in order. So let's be careful with this. So I had 4 11-year-olds. Oops, easy. 4 11-year-olds. I've now got 3. I've still got 3 12-year-olds, but I've now got 2 13-year-olds, and I've got the 54-year-old teacher. Okay, so same idea. I'm going to cross off until I get into the middle. Now then, I'm not going to cross off both of those because then I have nothing left in the middle. I'd have the middle of the two, wouldn't I? So if you ever get to that stage and you end up with 2 in the middle, that's if you have an even number of values. What we then need to do is to find the average of those 2 values. If they're both the same, the average is going to be the same as them. Okay, so in this case, let's show that. So 12 plus 12 divided by 2, add up. So it's the mean, isn't it? It's the version of the mean. 12 plus 12 divided by 2 is 24 divided by 2, which is 12. Yeah. Imagine if you'd have got, in the middle, you'd have got 11 and 12, okay? Then what would you have had to the average of those 2? You could probably do it in your head, or you could use the mean. So 11 plus 12 divided by 2 is 23 divided by 2, which is 11.5. Okay, so you might even get decimal answers coming out. Okay. All right, so I'm going to leave it there today. That's just a short crash course on averages. I hope that's been a nice reminder about the difference between each one and how to find them. And I'm going to wish you good luck with the work.